to the Metal Command Podcast.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you. And we're in that little break, right, between Christmas and New Year's. Christmas is over. We have this break where we just kind of have this awkward silence, at least for me. And while everybody's out spending time with friends and family, as I am also doing the same thing, what we also have going on is kind of like this lull. And, you know, I'm here right now starting to talk about 2024 and what is going to be coming out in 2024. And I'm here to talk about the band Crimson Glory, who came out not long ago to talk about the fact that they have a new guitar player and they also have a new singer and a new album coming out in 2024. And of course, a new lyric video and single coming out on January 20th. Now, the reason I bring this up, and actually what I'm going to say in this podcast can apply to a lot of bands out there in a similar situation. Crimson Glory is a legendary progressive metal band. Their first two albums are definitely regarded as two of the best prog metal works ever, which would be the self-titled first album and, of course, the album Transcendence, which is my favorite album by them. And they did have Tyler Torre from Queensryche singing with them for a little bit, but he had quit the band, probably, I believe, 10 or 11 years ago. Now they have announced a new album. And when I posted this on the Facebook page for the Metal Command podcast, which you could see, linked here in the show notes, had a lot of mixed reactions to this. In fact, there were three main reactions to my post on this because I was asking people, give me your thoughts on it. I just left it open-ended. And you had three reactions to it. So let me talk about the first one, and that is the fan base who wants a new album by them, the optimistic folks, the folks that think this is going to be great and who are excited about this. Every band gets that. And then you have the people that are skeptical. They're going to wait to hear the album before they really make a judgment. And the reason being is that John Drenning, one of the original guitar players, is not going to be in the band. And of course, Midnight has passed away and there's no Tyler Torre. So they have more of an unknown guy named Travis Wills from a progressive band called Infidel Rising, basically singing for them. So a lot of these people are kind of like, okay, we're going to wait and see if this is going to be good. Then, of course, just like every other band out there who wants to announce a new album and when that band announces that there are a few key members missing, you have the haters. The people who think it's going to suck. The people who think it's going to be terrible, even though they haven't heard one note from the album. Or they heard that little 30-second clip, which really tells us nothing about the album that's on their website. Okay, and they're like, oh, nope, the band's it's gonna suck. It's gonna be terrible. Missing two key guys. And most of these people will never like the album or give it a chance. And they won't do it for two reasons. The first reason is this. You have people, let's be honest, more often than not, when you're missing key members of a band, that album is lackluster. So that's part of the reason some people will think like this. The other part of the reason people will think like this is that they're simply just closed-minded. And you are always going to have that with anyone that is a fan of a certain band or who is stuck on a certain couple of albums by a band. It does not matter. So you are either A, looking at history and seeing the fact that albums where you are missing key members just don't turn out that well, or you're just closed-minded, or both. But it tends to be the former more than the latter in many cases. So why is this such high risk and high reward for a band like this? Let me just tell you where I stand on it first, and then I will tell all of you why this is a high risk, high reward situation for them, right? And people are talking about the band Warlord too, kind of getting back together without Bill the Same as the guitar player. this can kind of apply to them too. Now, I'm actually going to talk about that band in another podcast. But right now I'm talking about Crimson Glory. Here is my viewpoint on things like this. And it's going to be very simple. My judgment on whether this is a good or bad thing is to listen to the album and make my own judgment on what I think of the music. Because I don't sit there and write a band off simply because they are missing somebody in the band until I hear the record. I have this habit of listening to music to determine whether I like it or not, right? I mean, like I can't determine if I haven't heard what these guys have done. I'm not going to write the band off because they are missing a couple of guys. And by the way, they still have 3 original members. So let's get that out of the way. But until I hear it and listen to the album, I am not going to make a judgment. Now, let's say the album, I don't think it's very good. Then I can go point to the fact that John Drenning is not in the band. The other thing is this. I think if you had one or the other, if you had Midnight, if Midnight was still around and he was singing with them, or if John Drenning was around and still in the band and they just had a different singer, I don't think you would have as many negative reactions. However, you have a lot of negative reactions because both of those guys are gone. And you have a lot of skeptical people. Now, why is this a high risk, high reward thing for Crimson Glory? I'm going to tell you why. If the album is good, here's what will happen. The people that are optimistic and are excited about a new album are going to get what they want. Most of, if not all of the skeptics are going to love the album. And then out of the haters, you might have quite a few of those people like the record as well. I mean, at least there's a higher chance of them liking it. You might sway some of those people and they may say, okay, this does the band justice. This album is awesome. And again, you're still going to have the haters that won't give it a chance or will automatically say it sucks just because of the fact you're missing 2 guys, regardless of how good or bad the music is. If the album sucks, here's what happens. And it becomes a very bad PR thing for a band like this. Right now, there is a lot of hype for this band. So obviously, if the album really isn't all that great, if the singer in this band does not live up to expectations, first of all, the haters come out and become even bigger haters because you have now justified why they feel that way. All of the skeptics that were kind of, 50-50 on whether the album was going to be good or not are going to be blasting you. And the fan base that was extremely excited about a new album is going to be highly disappointed, and they are going to join the hater crowd. If the album is good, you have a chance to really market this thing and really make it pretty big and really draw even more fans to this band down the road. Because it is a band with a reputation and because the first 2 albums are so legendary, it could be a really high reward thing or it could be high risk. And possibly, unless John Drenning or somebody comes back, you could run the risk of this possibly being the band's last album. Just because it may not do very well. It may not be well received if the album is bad. So when bands get together and do this, it becomes a very high risk, high reward thing. Now, where do I think this album is going to go? Do I think it's going to be good? Well, here's my vibe. I've heard Travis Will sing. He's not a bad singer. Now, the thing is, it's hard to really make a judgment on that, right now without hearing any of the recordings, because someone can sound good or bad in another band or sound different and then come into a band like Crimson Glory and sound great. If you go, I can go back to stuff that I've sang on. If I go back to the Archetype album I sang on, I did not use anywhere close to my full vocal range as far as what I'm capable of doing. But then with the Empires of Eden stuff, for example, I was able to go and use my full vocal range. And hence why I think the Empires of Eden song that I did, and actually I'm working on another one, hence why I think my singing is better than what I did in Archetype. And the same thing could be true. Travis Wills, I mean, is Infidel Rising a pretty good band? I mean, they're pretty solid, right? I mean, he's not a bad vocalist. I've heard him sing on those records. But it's hard to say until you hear a song. And my gut feeling, I'm probably 75% sure it's probably going to be a good to solid album. I could be wrong, but it's going to be a good to solid album. And the thing is, when I say high risk, high reward, if the album is good, then the pressure is on to basically make the next one just as good, if not better. And unfortunately, it takes time and subsequent releases to basically get the hater crowd on board with you as far as supporting the band, because you were going to have those people. I mean, there are people, I call them gatekeepers, that are kind of like, they're never going to think it's going to be good. I'm telling you. And they will be the loudest people in the room if the album is bad. It's just what's going to happen. So you either get everybody hating you and ruining the reputation of the band, and then people will always look at that album as the last thing that you did and their last memory of you. Or if the album is good, sky's the limit. That's why it is such a high risk, high reward thing. So that's my take on it, folks. This is why it's a high risk, high reward situation. I'm really hoping the album is good. We will find out when we start hearing music from this thing in 2024. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. Please support the channel by leaving a comment. And I'm curious as to what all of you think. Do you think this album will be good? Are you on board with this band? Are you not happy Midnight and John Drenning aren't in the band and don't think the band should reform? Whatever your opinion is, leave a comment. I'm curious as to what you all think. Thanks for watching and stay metal.